Hey, good morning, everybody. Welcome to the very first in a series of Serial Snob live videos where what I want to do is go from being a person you see just me posting photos of to where you can get to know me more. But more importantly, I'd love to get to know the accounts that I follow and admire a lot more too. So today I have a very special guest coming on. It is the account Saturday Morning Nostalgia, something I've been following for a very, very long time. And it's one of my favorite people on the internet, and someone who's very inspirational to me. So today, I'm bringing him on as soon as he is available here to watch. Let me see. I think I can bring him Saturday. Mm. Mm-hmm. He's coming, I swear. So this is my first time doing this, so we're gonna try. There might be some technical difficulties, but I'm very excited about having Shawn on the show. So hi everyone, happy April Fool's Day. I'm really excited to have you guys all here. All right, okay, so. Hey, good
Hey,
morning.
awesome. Good morning.
Hey Shawn, nice
Yeah,
seeing you.
yeah,
Um,
nice to see you. Absolutely.
Yeah, everybody, this is Shawn from Saturday Morning Nostalgia, and this is the first time, from my understanding, that Shawn is showing his face
Yeah,
to you guys,
absolutely.
his followers. Yeah, so first, before we even get started, how does that feel?
It's kind of scary, but at the same time, it's good to put a face with with the content. So, yep, this is
Yeah,
me.
yeah. Well, I would imagine, having you've been doing this for so long now, that you have people you talk to on a regular basis that don't know your face, but you probably feel pretty close with relationship-wise.
Yeah,
Right. And I think it's cool now that not just, I mean, me, I'm really glad that I selfishly get to see you and know your face and the way you talk in like real time versus just the text, because as much as I want to pretend like I know someone via text, so much is lost in that communication. So it's really cool to have
yeah,
this here. So thank you for
yeah,
being here.
absolutely.
Another thing, yeah, another thing, just for everyone watching and tuning in, thanks for joining. I wanted to mention, like this, we're all stuck at home. Arizona just went to a stay-at-home order until the end of April, and with Trump extending that stay, the distance until the end of April too. I think this is a really cool way for all of us to have some sort of interaction together, but not actually have to be together. So that's what we're here for. So to get started, Shawn, I really love your page. It's all about Saturday Morning Nostalgia, which
Thank you.
is, and the thing I think on your page it says like born in the 80s. What year were you born in the 80s?
86, I was born.
Okay, I was born in
Yep,
89, so similar time frame, right? And I
yep,
think born in the 80s, like the 90s were my jam, and everything that was there in the 90s, even to the early 2000s, was like I was the target market of all the commercials, all the TV shows, and there's so much of that that like when I see something nowadays, it brings me way back, and I'm just like, and there's a lot of good times, and your whole page is dedicated to just that, and I think that's so cool. So I'd love to start by just knowing, I guess, like what inspired you to make this page, and we'll go from there.
Well, actually, I've told you this before. You were kind of some of the inspiration behind my page. I have been following you for a while. It all started, I was on YouTube, and I guess I had watched an old commercial for Lucky Charms, maybe. I'm not sure what it was, but I remember the video. Right after that, it was your French toast crunch video, and it
Oh
come
no
up, and
way!
yeah, it was. That was the one, and I just saw how passionate you were and how much fun you were having, and I just watched the rest of your catalog. It was like the entire day almost. And I just saw how much fun you were having, and just how passionate you was with cereal. And I've always loved cereal. It's been a huge part. Um, it's a huge part of my life now. I have a bowl almost every day. And I just, it was so fun. And then you kept making videos, and I told my wife, I said, I kind of want to do this. She would watch the videos with me, and she just said he's having so much fun. I said, I want to do that too. And I said, but I don't want to rain on his parade. I don't want to do just cereal. And then it dawned on me. She said, what could really you could do, because every time you talk about cereal, you talk about the nostalgia of the cereal. She goes, every time you talk about Trix, it's like Trix needs to bring back the fruit shapes. That's before they did that, by the way.
Yeah.
You know, and that's how they should be. That's how I grew up with the fruit shapes. Not everybody did, but I did. And she's like, just talk about the nostalgia and what it meant to you, you know, on Saturday morning, because that's the ultimate for me. Waking up, going back to being a kid, waking up, pouring yourself a big bowl of cereal, watching your favorite cartoons, playing video games. That's what it's all about. And I would bet that there's not a person in this chat that would not like to go back and just relive one of those days.
Yeah.
But I saw that, and you were just a big inspiration, and I started posting about nostalgic stuff, and it kind of took off.
Yeah, I mean, you've been doing so well. Like, for those of you that don't know, Shawn has like 26,000.4 or 5 followers. It's a ton. And you too have been a big inspiration for me. It's just been this interesting feedback loop, because I see your account, I've been following it for some time now. And every time I tune in, I'm just like, whoa, it's growing so much. And you always find tons of content. And I'm like, I vaguely remember this. Or sometimes I like really remember, right? And it really does bring back those kind of like where I was, when I was, like what house I lived in. I'm one of 6 kids, so how many siblings were born in my family at that time? So it's not just me, but like so many people follow you. It's really cool that you do that and keep doing that. And also, thank you. Huge thanks for not raining on my parade and just doing cereal. But
yeah, absolutely.
One thing I've realized is, like, you know, that so many people could do exactly what I do, or cover the same exact content, but we're all different people, different perspective. And I think that's the beauty of this, is that we have different accounts and different opinions. And no matter, even if we do the same exact thing, it'll be different. And that's what's fun. So go your wife too for being so. Like, it sounded like she really helped you narrow down like what you wanted to do.
Yeah, she does. She keeps me straight. So, you know, she keeps me grounded too. So I'm really appreciative of that.
Yeah, and I think in the past you've told me your wife works in photography, which is part of the reason why all of your photography looks like so great on your page.
Yeah, she does. Not all of them are taken by her, but she's given me that kind of artistic eye. You know, all the flat lays that I do, you know, that's kind of inspired by her. If you see something that looks really, really good, it's usually her that does it. But yeah, she's really good. She's been doing photography now for about 15 years. So.
Dang, that's so cool. Yeah, it's nice to have a partner that's creative to help you be creative, and then vice versa.
Yeah,
that's pretty
absolutely.
Awesome. I think what was I going to say? Your photos, I would imagine, like I sit here and I'll design things, or I'll take photos sometimes, and sometimes I notice the content I'm posting, if it looks too good, it almost doesn't get as much attention because it looks like an ad on Instagram. Do you notice similar things happening to you in your account?
I do. It's really strange. I will say, and I know that you do too, hashtag free product. General Mills will send me out some stuff, just because cereal is really nostalgic to me. So, you know, it's a big part of my life. So they'll send me some free stuff every once in a while. And if I do take a photo and it looks too good, I mean, it can get anywhere from like 100 to like 200 likes. And I'm just like, but yeah, it looks like an ad. So you know, maybe I should find another way to pose that stuff, because you know it really is nostalgic to me. And I don't post every cereal either. It's just ones that I think is really cool, or something that reminds me of my childhood. That's the only things that I'll really post. But I'm definitely a foodie too. So
yeah, same here, obviously. I'd love to kind of take a dive into some of your favorite 90s things. I see people in the comments on here talking about Schoolhouse Rocks or Ninja Turtles, but I want to start just with your favorite 90s TV shows, cartoons specifically. Can we talk about those?
Yeah, absolutely. That's really a hard question. There's so many good ones. So many good ones. Obviously, the OG Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I mean, you can't get much more nostalgic than that. I mean, just look at my logo. So, you know, I love them. I grew up in a very rural part of Alabama. I grew up very poor. But the beauty of it was I didn't know that we were poor. That's just how it was.
Yeah.
So we didn't have, in fact, it's so rural, they still don't have cable ran in that part of the state. So I didn't get satellite until I was 15 or 16, maybe. So I grew up with the, Fox, ABC.
Oh yeah.
So one Saturday morning, oh my goodness, one Saturday morning was just my jam. I loved that. Pepper Ann, Doug, Recess.
Yes.
God, I loved it. And Fox Kids. I grew up with Eek the Cat,
X-Men.
Digimon, yeah, X-Men, Bobby's World. I'm trying to think what else. What else was nostalgic for me? But one Saturday morning is really when I started getting into cartoons. That whole block, just everything on there was great. Probably my favorite 90s show, and one that I just really, really love, and I still watch at least once a year, was Digimon. Loved it. It was like Pokemon, like times 1,000. Like it was very good. It was an awesome anime. That was kind of my first forte into anime. And I just really love that show. And you can watch it on Hulu now. If nobody's seen it, if nobody has watched it, I suggest watching it. It's really good. It holds up.
And you're talking about season one?
Season one.
Season one.
I watched season
that
2.
Story arc was
3.
fantastic.
Yeah, it was. Oh my God, it was so good. Season 2 was also really good. Season 3, I kind of stopped. I was getting a little older. I got into my first Xbox, and I really got into gaming then. So, that's kind of when I stopped watching it. But it's totally worth the watch. But that to me is my favorite Saturday morning show.
Wow, that's so cool.
Yeah.
I remember Digimon coming on, and like having been really hardcore fascinated with Pokemon already at that point in time. I was like, this is a ripoff. But then I just sat there and watched it, right? And I was like, okay, sure, when they evolve back. And I don't like that, but this story's cool. This world is weird. And it was cool because, again, it wasn't, it was a digital monsters, digital in a digital world, right? And I think that made it so different than Pokemon, and that's what gave it so much like freedom. Like there was one episode I remember in particular, they were like bouncing all over this like world that was like trampolines. Or something that's just like, I remember being like, wow, could you imagine a world where everything was just like infinitely cushy and bouncy? I'd love it. That'd be my favorite thing.
Yeah, absolutely. It was just one of those, I just got involved in the story, and every Saturday morning that's the first thing I would do. I'd pour myself a big bowl of Golden Grams. It's my favorite cereal.
That's why I put this up here, because I knew. I bought some the other day because we were talking about it, and I was like, look, Golden Grams, I posted about it, we talked about it. I have to buy it because once it's in your head, you're like, no, it's an itch, I have to scratch. So yeah, Golden Grams.
It's so good. It's such an underrated cereal too. It doesn't get the love it deserves, but man, I love Golden Grams. Anything Graham, I am pro, and I am, I hate that they took away the s'more cereal because that had a good Graham flavor in it too. So, and I know that was one of your favorites.
Which one? Sorry, say that again.
The s'more cereal.
Oh yeah. Also, but to be fair, I bet that would be better if there was some actual Golden Grams in it. Like that cereal is very good, but the Graham flavor in here is pretty unrivaled in other cereals, and I think that's what's sad about everything, really, because like that Graham flavor really, really works, particularly with milk. And honey is such a big thing. Like, there should be Honey Nut Graham Cheerios, right? The world would blow up. I'd like screw Honey Nut Cheerios. Just give me the Grahams all the time.
I would love that. Love it.
That'd be so great. Was Golden Grams one of your favorite cereals in the 90s too?
It was. My folks were of the mindset that Golden Grams was a healthier cereal.
Great. General Mills tricked them.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Big time. Yeah. And it's totally not, but it was that. So it was that. And they would buy cornflakes, and if I was lucky, I got to put a spoonful of sugar in the cornflakes. But just because just because Golden Grams was a cereal that I could actually get like all the time, it was my favorite. My favorite nostalgic cereal, just because I didn't get it all the time, was Lucky Charms. I mean, how could it not be? I mean, I remember I was in first grade when they released the Marshmallow Rainbow for the first time, and I was just blown away. I was in school, and I didn't know about it. And it just, school, they had those individually packed, you can open them up and pour the milk.
Yeah.
And I remember seeing the rainbow, and it had new across the label. And I was blown away. I was like, how did they get 3 colors in one marshmallow? I mean, they've done, like, I think, and I could be wrong, but I think that was the first time that they've had a multicolored marshmallow. They've had swirls before.
Yeah.
But yeah, not like this. And I was just
like really segmented, clear borders, but still the same. Yeah.
Yeah. And I was just like, I was blown away. And that was a really nostalgic memory for me. So at school, if I went to school, I would have Lucky Charms. But if I was at home, it was Golden Grams.
Yeah, that's funny. And what you talked about with cornflakes too, you're like, if I was lucky, I get to put a spoonful of sugar in there. That 100% was me. But my parents, when I was young, would only buy like regular Cheerios, plain corn or wheat checks. And I remember eating those and just like, I would wake up before anyone else because I was like the youngest kid, right? So I'd wake up, I go to the kitchen, I pour some cereal and just be like, sugar, sugar, sugar. Exactly. And like, it wasn't about permission because I never asked anybody. And I'm sure if my parents would have seen that, they would have been like, absolutely not. But that was just how I managed to eat cereal as a kid. And I think it's funny that you did that too with cornflakes. I bet everyone probably did that.
Oh, I'm sure. Honestly, it was, that's why I think I love Saturday morning so much. It's you could wake up before anyone else. That was your day. You had to go to school 5 days a week. Sunday was usually devoted to church, family, whatever. But Sunday was usually kind of off limits. But Saturday was yours. That's when you could basically do what you could be a kid. You could wake up before anybody else, pour that huge bowl of cereal, put on your favorite cartoon, play some Mario. I mean, that was just the ultimate for me. Yeah. And I love hanging on to that feeling. So
funny question just about the current times. Now that most people are working from home, and we're not really allowed to go out anywhere, does now feel reminiscent of then in any way to you?
It kind of does. It's funny. It's kind of like we're living in a version of Groundhog Day, if you remember that movie. Yeah,
I literally watched that last night. That movie is amazing. I
love that movie. And it feels like we're just like living like the same day over and over again. And it does. It's kind of like I'm home. I can really kind of do whatever I want. I'm currently unemployed because of everything. My wife is not, thank goodness. So I'm not gonna lie, it's kind of nice. It allows me to get outside.
Which just must be so great.
Oh, it is great to get sun every day when it's not raining. It's great. I love being outdoors. But yeah, it's kind of, I wake up and I'll play some Smash Brothers or, some Mario Maker, Mario Kart. I love Mario, obviously.
We should 100% play some Mario Kart sometime.
Oh man, I would love it.
Yeah, I mean, are you better at Mario Kart than you are at Smash Bros?
I was hoping you wouldn't bring that up, but yes, I'm a lot better. So
you're not bad at Smash Bros. I just want to throw that out there. I had fun playing you.
Yeah, it was fun. I won. I think we played 6 or 7 rounds. I won 1 out of the 7, I think. So,
and sometimes that's how it is with me when I'm playing online. I'm like 1 out of 7. You're like, oh, okay, but I have a good time, and I'm 100% play you again. Actually, it'd be really fun to play free for all, or like 4 people free for all. That'd be so much fun.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And maybe we should do like kind of like a mini giveaway or something. It's like invite 2 more people from our followers or whatever, and just have a mini match or something. I think. Yeah,
we could see fun. If like or I give them a prize, or vice versa. If my follower beats you and your follower, you give them a prize.
And we've talked about it. I'll allude to it. I won't ruin what it is, but you and I were talking about a giveaway at some point in time, which we still need to get on that. So we'll just hit me up after the video.
That's perfect. Yeah, I think we'll coordinate that later.
Yeah, coordinate that later.
Yeah, stay tuned, everybody. We'll talk more about that soon. So that is, we talked about your cartoons in the 90s, some of your favorite serials. I'd love to know, as a person who loves gaming now, what was your favorite console in the 90s?
You know, I had both the Sega Genesis and the Super Nintendo. I'm a Nintendo guy. I still am. I love Nintendo. Nintendo, if you're listening, hit me up. But you know, so somebody gave me their Genesis, just gave it to me.
Recently?
So, no, back in the day.
As a kid?
Wow,
even cooler.
Yeah, I was so happy. So it had Sonic 1, Sonic 2. There was a motorcycle game too, and I cannot remember. I was trying to remember what it was before we started talking, and I can't remember what it was. But there was a motorcycle game in there. Driver, I think, was another one. I think it was Driver, something like Driver. But it didn't have a lot of games, and that was my first forte into Sonic. And I will be honest, I did like Sonic a whole lot more than Mario at the time.
Same.
Just because it was faster.
The level design was way cool. The music was so awesome.
I loved it.
Oh gosh, it was great. I never had a Sega, but I remember every time someone would pull out, or they'd have a Sega at their house, and they play Sonic, I'd be like, yes, Sonic time.
Exactly.
Like the best. Like Mario I had, but the Sonic, again, like you said, it was so flashy and like otherworldly. Yeah.
So I would play it, and I really liked it, but I didn't like any other games on the Genesis. I was a bit young for Mortal Kombat at the time. My parents would not allow that in the house.
Yeah.
And I wanted that game secretly. And you know, the Genesis version had the animated violence and stuff. And of course, the Super Nintendo took that out. So Nintendo was all about family friendly, so they took out the blood and all this stuff.
Wow.
All the good stuff, you know.
Yeah. The reason why people play.
Yeah, exactly. So they ended up getting me Mortal Kombat for the Super Nintendo because it was a whole lot more family friendly. So, you know, honestly, my favorite was, I loved my Super Nintendo and I loved the Genesis, but the console that really changed how I viewed video games was the 64.
Oh,
the Nintendo 64. Too. Oh man, oh man, and it came out on my birthday, which is September 29th.
Oh, and my birthday is September 27th.
Oh, that is so
you're
cool.
a Libra too?
Yep, I am.
Oh, that's hilarious. Oh, hey, that's cool.
Hey, September kids, man, I'm telling you.
Yeah.
But it came out, and we tried to get one. Living in a small town, you know, it took forever to get one, but I finally, me and my dad just happened to be at Walmart, and they had some, and he just surprised me and got it.
Wow, what a cool dad.
I was blown away. You know, we didn't have much, so for him to do that, you know, shout out to Dad. I love him. But you know, Super Mario 64, man. When I first grabbed that controller and just ran around like Peach's Castle, oh my goodness, I was like, this is it. This is like the ultimate video game.
It changed the whole world at that point in time.
It changed it. I mean, it was so, Nintendo, they changed the way we video game forever. I mean, even some of the move sets are still used in Mario games, like Mario Odyssey. They're still used. And GoldenEye. Oh, GoldenEye. I still play GoldenEye from time to time.
You're lucky. I never got to play GoldenEye. Like you mentioned earlier, your parents were like, definitely no blood in our games. Up until I was like 17, I wasn't allowed to have mature rated games in my house. So it's like whenever I go to my friend's house, like, oh, you play some Halo? Like, what's that? I didn't even know at the point in time. And it was so great to like actually get into it, but you're so lucky you got it not too far in. I mean, I know GoldenEye wasn't mature, but even then my parents were like, shooting guns? No.
I begged my friend. I cut lawns all summer for that game. Like I earned it myself. And I told my parents, I'm like, it's rated teen. And I said, this is why. I bought the strategy guide before I even got the game. just to
Yeah,
show
that's
them
how you
kind of
know
what
you
the
were
game.
serious.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
just to kind of show them what it was. And I finally talked them into it. And I just remember going to Walmart. That's all we had in our town was Walmart.
Mm-hmm.
Walmart and a Kmart. But so I went to Walmart and I got it. And it feels like I played that game for 24 hours straight, man. I loved it. It was just so revolutionary at the time. And having my friends over, we'd get Taco Bell and, just we'd have an all night GoldenEye Fest. It was great.
Yeah, man. Anytime there's video games and Taco Bell included, it's like the best time.
It's the ultimate.
Yeah, it's like you get those. Yeah, life's good. Nothing else matters. Oh, that's so great.
I loved it.
That's cool. Yeah, I remember some of the like my family basically only ever got consoles, I think, from like thrift stores that my mom was like working at the time. So I felt like, when I was really young, we had the NES. But that was around the time everyone else was getting the SNES. And so I didn't get the Nintendo 64 until 1999, like right before the GameCube started coming out. But I remember playing it at my friend's house like the year or two previously, and just like Mario Kart was so amazing. I remember Rainbow Road in particular being just like and also that cheat in Rainbow Road. Like, first off, the game is amazing. And then some of your friends are like, yeah, you can just jump over the border here and cut like half the level. And you're like, what? And like when I learned how to do that, and again, that was just so cool. But again, that also harkens back to a time where I really love video game culture because it was more like passed person to person, not website to cell phone to you, and there was a real sense of community that felt it was different. And now it's still great because obviously I love talking to my friends about, where I'm at in the game. What I did, and I try not to look things up, but if I can talk to my friend about it, they give me a tip. That feels so much cooler than looking at some strat guide. But yeah, I used to love it back then. It's just like, when I moved from Washington State as a 9-year-old to Arizona at 10, my friend mailed me like a cheat book code of Super Nintendo cheats, and I remember being like, just looking through it and seeing like Legend of Zelda: A Link to the Past, one of my all-time favorite games.
Love it.
And it was like, oh, if you just push this statue out of the way, you can get into a temple. I was like, what? There's it told me things I had no idea. And then it also told me you could fly around like a bird in that game from like town to town, which up until that point in time, I never knew, right? So like those books, particularly as a kid, were like literally the holy grail, right? It's just like, wow, it made the things I loved even more lovable.
Did you ever call the Nintendo hotline? You know how they had the hotline for hot chips?
100%. Well, but not to like call my NES or my Super Nintendo. It was like, for repair, I had to go pick for Mario with a hammer or something.
Yeah,
because one time, I don't know if it was me, it probably was me. I stuck like a penny in the cartridge slot and it got stuck. And I was like, and I don't think I wanted to tell my parents about it. I was just like, no, I can't bother them with my shame. So I'll call the hotline. But I can't recall what else happened. I just remember that number and that little sticker. But would you call the hotline to like get tips from them?
I would, and I got in so much trouble because it was like, it was like, seriously, it was like $3 for the first minute, and it was like $1 a minute after that.
What?
Yeah, and so dumb me didn't know, and I got the phone bill, and I was in so much trouble. I was in so much trouble. But I was like, I could not find, and I remember exactly why I called. I could not find the 120th star in Mario 64. I just could not do it. And I finally figured out that I think it was one of the Bowser levels. You can still get 100 coins in that, and it gives you a star. And it was one of those. But that to find that out cost like $30. So,
oh gosh.
Yeah, I was in so much trouble. But man, that's before the internet. We I don't, I just, if we didn't have the internet, I don't know, man. I think it would be, I don't know, it would be so much weirder if we, now I just look it up, like, how do you do this and answer. But back then, you actually had to call and talk to somebody live.
Yeah, and I think actually the internet is great, obviously, for so many reasons. But like with the release of like the SNES games on my Switch online, I've been going through Super Metroid again. And as a 30-year-old man, who's played many, many games, I'm sitting there and I'm like, what do I do? Where do I go? This boss is so hard, I can't beat it, right?
That game is brutal.
Yeah, it's amazing because it's brutal. Like I'm finding that I love games that cause me to be very, very upset before I overcome something. And Super Metroid, and the internet, I looked up on the internet and I got past it. I was like, oh, that wasn't so bad. And I think now games are so much more accessible to everybody who wants to play them, whether it's on your phone and because of the websites and all the guides. I think, even though I might not like to dive into it all the time, it's great that it's there because it just makes the thing we love even more accessible to more people, which means more people buy it, which means more games get made. And I love that.
Yeah, I do too. I love it. And I don't know if you saw the rumor. I posted a couple of days
This
back.
is literally on my sheet to talk to you about. Like, we have to talk about this.
Awesome. Well, do you want to do it now or do you want to do it later?
No, let's do it now. Here, tell everybody what the rumor is. I'd love to hear your take on it.
So there was a rumor that dropped, and I don't normally post rumors on my Instagram just because but this one was it came from so many good sources, I kind of had to. But for Super Mario's 35th anniversary, which, oh my God, 35 years. So for their 35th, Nintendo is going to remake or remaster, I'm not sure yet, all the old 3D Marios. So Mario 64, Mario Sunshine, Mario Galaxy, and Mario Galaxy 2.
Ooh!
And yeah. Oh, I can't wait. So, and the rumor is now that they're going to do, because you know how they had Mario All-Stars back in the day. They had Mario 2, 3, and the Lost Levels. They're going to do that this time. It's going to be like a Super Mario All-Stars 2, like 3D version or something. So I can't wait for that. Oh my goodness, I cannot wait for that.
And I think if I read correctly, they said 2020, this year.
This year,
right?
This year.
I think they said that basically the 3D Marios, like you mentioned, Sunshine, Galaxy, and 64 would all be in one collection. At least that was my understanding from the rumor. And then the 3D Land remake, which would be like the Lost Levels, would be a different purchase. Which either way, I've played all those games in small increments at least. But I would 100% love to play them all again on my Switch. I think all the time about how much I want Super Mario Sunshine again. I love one of my favorite, obviously Mario 64, because it came out on the 64 and the whole 3D thing, it really was amazing. I love the sound, the level design. I love going into portraits. The platforming there was so fantastic, and to see it be released again on my Switch was just no, 100% sign me up. Because I played it on even the 64 remake on my DS back in 2004. And it was more fun in 2004 to me than it was back when I played it on the 64. So I'm just man, to have it get on my Switch and play it on planes when I'm going to work or just in my bedroom or anywhere around the house, that sounds so cool.
I can't wait.
Yeah, what about, so out of those Marios, Sunshine, 64, and Galaxy, and we'll include Galaxy too, do you have a favorite?
I've played all of them, but I have to go 64, man. It just I have so many memories playing that as a kid. That just, to me, that was when I first saw it, I was blown away. I was like, oh my God, it's Mario in 3D. And I think I'm looking at it through nostalgia goggles, but I really loved 64. That was my jam. Mario Sunshine is a very close second. If they redid that, that might become my new favorite. If they did it right, just give it some pretty visuals and kind of upgrade his jump set and skill set a little bit. There were some things in the game that just didn't feel right, but it was still fun. I played it, I beat the game, I loved it. And there's some things in 64 too that needs to be redone. It didn't feel right compared to, if you play Odyssey and then go back and play these two games, you're like, ooh, yeah, it's not as sweet. So if they fine tune the controls and just give it that Mario Odyssey realism, I think they'll have a hit. I don't care. Take my money. I will pay whatever it takes to get it. But 64 for sure.
That's cool. Yeah, I think out of all those, I probably would say Sunshine, but only because like I remember Sunshine came out and I think I was in seventh grade, and the GameCube was still really new to me, and I remember like seeing the game, not even knowing, like at like a Best Buy or something, not even knowing it was released because I wasn't on the internet back then. I didn't read like video game magazines. Just like, what? A new Mario game? And I think I like had either enough money saved up or my mom owed me money for babysitting or something, and we were able to get it. And I just fell 110% into that game. And it was just so cool, like the backpack, and I thought it visually was like obviously so much better looking than Super Mario 64 just because of the generational leap, but also the whole tropical island thing. I thought it did a really cool job at taking a good formula and improving upon it and making it just like more fun.
And that's I mean, it's the Sunshine for me is a very close second. Because I had the GameCube as well. And because Mario Sunshine wasn't available when the GameCube first released. We had Luigi's Mansion, which I thought was, even back then, I was like, we're not getting a Mario game? This is really weird. But I played Luigi's Mansion and loved it. I haven't played it for the Switch. I see that you've played it a little.
Mm-hmm. And beat it.
Oh man, I'm jealous. I need to get that game. I've been procrastinating. I have so many games I need to beat.
Now is the time. Right. That's why I keep thinking, like, look, if there's ever been a time that, like, I saw some post earlier, it was like, there are 3 days now: yesterday, today, and tomorrow. That's it. Like, it's back. Like, no, it's like summertime. There's like, no, we don't need to keep track of time so much. Well, for a lot of us, so it's like a cool place. Like, I'm going through Animal Crossing right now. I think you are too. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's like, I play that for like an hour or two every day almost, and then I go to Smash Bros, or I just bought Ori and the Dark Forest, or on the Switch, some other 2D game, because I just played through Hollow Knight, which gave me such nostalgia feels, but it was such an improved upon game, I think, than like some of the older things. So it's great. Like right now, I'm like,
fantastic game.
Did you play through Hollow Knight?
Yes.
Oh God.
Yeah, I loved it because it reminds you of the old platformers, but it feels fresh. I don't know. It's like you got the old mixed with the new, and it's like a perfect game. So if anybody's listening out there, haven't played it, play it. You won't be disappointed.
Yeah, I 100% recommend. Like, and I have nothing to critique it on, just to warn people, if you aren't good, like, it's a challenging game. And if you don't have the patience to get through some hurdles, it'll be very difficult to get through. But as a person who hates patience in games, I made it through, and it was the most gratifying thing. I was like, every time I beat some boss that took me like 20 tries to beat, I'm like, it was me, I did it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I think it should give you like you said, it should frustrate you to no end. But once you do complete a task or beat a boss, that feeling is it's incredible. And that game is that from the start to the finish. So it's really a good game. Love that game. If you are not good at platformers, or if you're kind of new to that, I suggest downloading, if you haven't already, the NES on Switch and playing Mario Brothers 3. If you can play that all the way through, you'll have no problems.
Yeah, that's a good point. And if anyone has online, that's free. I played it recently because I just wanted to go back and like actually there are some Mario, like Mario 1, 2, and 3. But like 3 in particular, I'm not sure why. Like, I remember it a lot as a kid, but when I'm remembering Mario titles, that one doesn't stick out to me. But it's maybe the first game I can ever remember someone being like, oh, by the way, if you just jump on this platform and you hold down and run back, you go behind the level. I'm like, shut up. What? You broke like the gate. Yeah.
That was the game that cemented the playground. Oh yeah, I beat the game in 15 minutes because I used the whistle. Well, what whistle? Where do you get the whistle? I loved it. That was the game that everybody was like, oh yeah, if you go and you do this and you do this, you can get to the castle faster. And my most nostalgic game probably, and my favorite game of all time, has got to be Mario 3. I mean, of all time, out of any console, any video game, it's Mario 3. just because my parents did take me to see The Wizard when I was a kid. So getting to see that for the first time, basically The Wizard, if nobody's seen it, it's basically a 90-minute commercial for Nintendo, but it's got a really cool story.
Yeah.
But at the end, when they're at the competition and you see Mario 3 for the first time, I was on the edge of my seat. That was like the pinnacle. And I wanted that game so bad, so bad. And it just, I don't know, there was so many things that it expounded upon. And that cemented my love for platformers. That's when I knew that platformers is going to be my thing. And I still love platformers. To this day, that's my favorite kind of game is platformers.
Wow. So you said The Wizard. I didn't actually know about that. Have you posted about that on your page before?
It's been, honestly, I did, but it's been about a year ago. I may post it again just
Dude,
to.
now
Yeah.
is the time. We talked about it. I'd love to see something, and I'd share it out too. That'd be so cool to check that out. That's awesome. I never got to do any of those things as a kid where like your parents took you to some event. Was The Wizard a movie or like a performance?
I know it was a movie.
Okay.
And I'm trying to remember where you can watch it. It's either Amazon Prime or Hulu, but you can watch it for free. So, if anybody in the comments knows, let us know. If not, I'll post it in a story. But man, it's worth the watch. It's really cool. It's about this boy who wants to. I'm not going to ruin it. Just watch it. Just trust me. It's a good watch.
Look, your followers are here. They're already sold on nostalgia. They're going to go watch it. So that's all they need. That's great.
Yeah. Well, I do have a question for you. I think we got a few more minutes before it kicks us off.
We do. We have like 9 more minutes before I want to go to Q&A. So let's use up. Yeah, go for it.
So I just wanted to know, I know you've said it before, but I just want to ask, what made you get into the cereal world, and what's your favorite cereal of all time, and how much cereal do you eat on a regular basis? Just curious.
Okay, so 3 questions.
Three
Start with the
questions.
first. What made me start this channel was back in like 2014, maybe 2013, I started watching, first off, I've been reading video game journalism religiously since like 12 years old. Always had a subscription to Game Informer magazine. It was always on like IGN and Kotaku. I mean, all these websites looking up video game stuff. And by the time I was like in my mid-teens, no, actually, this isn't even my mid-teens, 2014, I'm in my 20s. I started watching one of the old editors from IGN review Oreos on YouTube. And I remember like watching these reviews of just Oreos, right? Which I love, one of my favorite cookies for sure. But being like, this guy's got 40,000 views on Oreos? I was like, but it made sense to me because there is a lot of new Oreos all the time. But just like at that point in time, I'd never seen anyone anywhere even attempt to make like just a page online where they're like focused on one thing that seems so small in scope to me. And at that point in time, I was still, I've been living on my own for like 4 years at the point, and I buy cereal on a very regular basis. And I think I remember one day seeing like sprinkled donut crunch. And I was like, what is this? Sprinkled, like this, like Captain Crunch, to answer one of your other questions, Crunch Berries is probably, if I had to kill all the cereals, Crunch Berries would be like, it would be the one that I pick. So I always had Captain Crunch available in my house. And when I saw another version, I was like, I'm like, but the box is like $4. You don't know if it's good or not. And I was like, why doesn't anybody review these? I just would like, if people were reviewing Oreos, someone should review cereal. And I thought, and also at the time, I'm like an actor and I'm doing this professionally in the Phoenix area. And, as an actor, you're basically always going out and trying to nail a performance like someone else wants, right? You're like doing this for someone else. And I was like, and I guess I didn't like that so much because I'm always trying to like be something for someone instead of just being me for me. So I was like, how about I take the idea of reviewing cereal? I'm like, and I eat cereal. And I was talking this idea over with a friend, and I was like, I've just been like a cereal snob my whole life. So I think wait a minute. I'm like, that's the idea. That's the name, cereal snob. I love it because everyone's like, you should call yourself serial killer. I'm like, yeah, but everyone does that. I mean, like, but that's like not that I'm against it, great name, but I thought Cereal Snob was just like, no, there are lots of cereals I 100% avoid, not even because I tried them, but because I think they're not good, right?
Right.
And like, I look at it and I'm like, no, not for me. And I thought it would be so great to like challenge myself in a way to like really try all the cereals and to use my snobbiness to review them in that way and share that with the world. And so I just kind of started with that French Toast Crunch video you mentioned, which is terrible in retrospect. I watch it, I'm like, ooh.
No, man, it was great. Like I said, that was the first video I've ever seen of yours, and that was like my forte. And I just after that video, it hooked me, man. I
that's
subscribed
great.
that day. Yeah,
that's so cool because I remember like that cereal in 2014, 2015, like it was gone for a long time and it came back, and I was like, we're thinking at that point, I'm like, what's the first video I'm gonna do? I'm like, French Toast Crunch. I loved it as a kid, and like now that it's back, I'm like, now's the time. So it's really interesting you saw that video in particular, because I think if there's one video that's least likely to hook people, it's probably that one. And then your third question was what?
How much cereal do you actually eat?
Well,
because
I'll be honest.
You're in phenomenal shape, dude. You're in phenomenal shape.
Well, thank you. It ebbs and flows a lot, right? I think more often than not, like I can tell you right now, I'm eating cereal at least once a day, probably. Like here, so you see the cereal behind me here. That's just one stash of my cereal. I have some in here as well, but that's just like what is currently open and ready to go. I have this entire thing just full of cereal. You got to look, I got Captain Crunch, Cocoa Pebbles. It's like, so right now, because of the whole quarantine thing, I was like, look, cereal is like one of those things that I'm always going to want and enjoy as a snack. So why not just buy a lot of it? So right now I eat cereal at least once a day. It seems so, and not like one little bowl. I mean, I'm eating like multiple bowls of cereal every day, it seems like. But like, this morning I ran a mile and a half. I ran almost 2 miles yesterday, and running is new because I can't get to the gym in the same way. But actually, here, we'll show you one more thing, because in 2009, I was like about to become a dad. I broke up with my girlfriend at the time, and I was like, man, I have all this time on my hands. I'm just gonna go to the gym. So I did. And like right now in my backyard, we'll turn this around here really quickly, is I have a little bench. These are, well, actually they're over there. They're adjustable weight dumbbells that go from like 10 pounds up to 70. These are for perfect push-ups. I tied a towel here so I could do pull-ups on this bar because I don't have a pull-up bar. And so that's like, just to show, like fitness is a really big part of my life, and like going outside and playing has been the balance to my being inside and playing video games. So that's why, like, while I definitely indulge in like the stuff that most people would consider like fairly unhealthy, I do my best to balance it out by getting out and just being healthy in any way I can.
Yeah, same for me, man. My running shoes are going to have holes in them by the time this quarantine is up. I try to do at least 3 to 5 a day miles, walking and running. Just good. There's a greenway right across the street from my house. So,
that's so awesome.
Yeah, I'm really fortunate in that. So that's what I try to do. And I know we got 1 more minute probably before you want to do a Q&A. Not a lot of people know you're also a model. Definitely go check out his modeling Instagram account. It's pretty awesome. So. Yeah,
that's if you guys go to my page, like my personal Instagram account has a lot of my modeling photos too. It's all of the good ones I post there. But it's not like my focus anymore. So just go check it out if you want. Yeah, good. Thanks for the shout out.
Oh yeah, no worries. I mean, one of the coolest things you ever done, I think, is you actually got to model. You got to be in an Apple ad, and I was just like, because I'm an Apple freak. I mean, I love it, and I know you don't, but
I'm not anti-Apple though. Like, I think if you're in that boat and you have that ecosystem, amazing. I just don't have that ecosystem.
Yeah, I'm too far invested. I got way too much money sunk, so I can never jump ship.
Yeah, and I think that's part of the reason why I get frustrated with them as a company. Sometimes I used to work for Apple. For those of you that don't know, I 3 years working for that company, and I never had an iPhone during that period of time. It's just like, no, I love the people, the experience, but the products, I've already said
Totally
it.
makes sense. Yeah. Cool.
But I actually haven't even gone over these Q&As. So I don't know if we have much.
I've been kind of trying to read them as they come through, but yeah.
Oh, so you have some, let's see. Well, I have, let's see this one. It says, what is your definition of Saturday morning nostalgia? I think we kind of covered that, but do you want to go ahead and say it again?
Yeah. So the definition of Saturday morning nostalgia, what I try to do is, I think when we all were kids, waking up on Saturday morning, knowing that day is yours. That is your day. You have to do school all week. You know, Sunday is usually devoted to family, church, whatever. But Saturday was your day. And I try to bring that to you 30 seconds at a time. Just that feeling of watching your favorite cartoons, eating your favorite cereal, and just being a kid. I mean, even though that we're adults now, we should still be kids. You know, I think that people are way too serious now. So I try to be very lighthearted and bring you things that just remind you of your childhood. I try to bring you back into a good space, a place where you felt happy. And that's what I try to do. But that's my definition of Saturday morning nostalgia, is that Saturday morning feeling. Yeah,
that's so great. And I think you're obviously so good at that, and the numbers show it for sure, and you're growing all the time, which I think is really, really great. This is a great question, which is something I want to ask you too. It says, what toy do you remember totally demolishing as a kid? Because I'm sure, like you, I mean, I have a lot of siblings, so even if I wasn't breaking toys, my toys were getting broken all the time. Is there anything that comes to mind?
You know, honestly, the thing that came to my mind first, Nickelodeon created this football that was in the shape of a brain. I think they called it Brain Ball.
Oh,
and
yes.
I just remember I played with that thing until it was like just a square of foam. I loved that thing. It totally got demolished. But I was also that kid that would build Legos, like spend hours and just knock them down and demolish them. And my dad would always step on a piece in the middle of the night, and then he would say a bunch of stuff that I can't repeat. But yeah, it was Legos and that football. I don't know why, but those were the two things that I just destroyed, just demolished.
That's such a great answer. I can't even think of many toys that I broke myself. I remember having Super Soakers, one of the best things, and like before long, those like always just seemed to stop working, right? Like they worked, you could screw your friends all of a sudden, like they didn't pressurize or they weren't leaked. Yeah. It just it was sad.
They always leaked. Like they would be good for about 2 days, and after that, they're trash.
Yeah, that's the way it is. Super Soaker life. Let's see if we have any other good questions. Okay, so I think we have one last one that is relevant to, or something we can both answer. It says, what would your favorite or ultimate dessert be, as an aspiring chef wants to know? Ultimate dessert.
That's wow, that's tough. You want to go first?
Yeah, I guess I could start. So one thing I find in particular is I really love having things like a combination of textures, like ice cream with crunchy things in it. Fantastic. Oh, yeah. Right? Like, you know, it's like, obviously we like crunch if we're cereal people. And I had this thing called, it was like chocolate mousse with like foam, like fried cereal milk. I don't even know how they did it, but it was like this little like foamy ice, like sugar treat. It was a really amazing cereal. And it was, and Captain Crunch was sprinkled on top. And like, that was so cool. But like, I would love, like, so something in that vein, like ice cream, but I want ice cream to be more involved with something that it isn't usually. It's really hard. Like, I think the perfect dessert probably does exist, like cookies, or there's like cookies with ice. Does it get better than that? Apple pie? Like
Apple pie. Yeah.
it's good. Apple pie is like as good as it gets for me when it comes to desserts. So I don't know. Any answer from you?
Yeah, so I was kind of along the same vein. I would love if somebody could do it correctly. I love cheesecake. I love cheesecake. If somebody could make a cinnamon toast crunch cheesecake and do it right, I think that would be the ultimate for me anyway. Because you got that crunch, you got the cream with the cheesecake, because you got the milk and you got the cereal. I do love cinnamon toast crunch. Just God, General Mills makes so much good stuff. But I think sprinkle it on top, some cinnamon sugar on top, kind of a caramel base maybe, and like some cinnamon toast crunch pieces mixed into cheesecake.
Yeah.
I think for me, I would love to try it. In fact, I might.
Yeah.
I might try it. I got the time, so.
You do. I think cereals are like really prime subjects to become desserts. And that cheesecake you mentioned, I was like, man, they do Oreo crust. Why not the yellow pieces of Captain Crunch? That could be the cheesecake crust, right? And then the crunch berries swirled into the cheesecake itself, but like a lot of them. Because I tried that berry-tastic pancake mix recently. Not enough.
I still can't
berry
find
flavor.
it, by the way.
I've been seeing reports just recently that it's finally out on shelves. I haven't seen it in the past week I've been out, but I think it's just hitting shelves now. But I can tell you, if you really want to enjoy that, you're going to need like an entire bowl of Captain Crunch berries crunched up to sprinkle on top of it as well. Because while it may smell like crunch berries, you're like, this is just a pancake. Oh.
Gotcha. I'll keep that in mind. But yep, as soon as I find it, I'll post about it.
Yeah. Well, we're coming at the end. Like we have 4 minutes left. So I'd like to take this time for you, just really quickly to mention 3 cereals you recommend to everybody, and then 1 cereal you tell them to stay away from.
Okay, 3 cereals I recommend. I know you don't like them, but I love the Phillo's cereal.
Which one? Chocolate or cinnamon?
No, the cinnamon. The chocolate was okay for me.
Yeah.
But I really liked it. Yes, it's very sweet. It is definitely a dessert cereal. Do not eat it for breakfast unless you want to eat like crud all day. But I really like that cereal. Golden Grams, give them a shot. If you've never had them, I mean, that's my favorite cereal of all time. Definitely. And drizzle some honey on top of that in the bowl. Because, you got to have the honey. My third one would be, honestly, you're going to laugh, but that Special K, I don't know if they still have it, but that Special K with the chocolate slivers in it and the strawberries.
Chocolate and strawberries?
Yeah, I don't know if they still have it. They had it for a while. I know they have the strawberries, but for a while they had chocolate inside. That was really good.
I can only imagine. That's not even funny to me because Special K Red Berries is one of the best cereals.
Yeah, and for a time they had the chocolate. Yeah, it was so good. Oh,
that's so great. Yeah, okay, so, and then 1 cereal to avoid. Like, what's something at all costs you don't think anyone should be eating?
At any point in time, I don't think anybody should be eating like Sugar Smacks. I'm sorry.
Or honey Smacks nowadays.
Or Honey Smacks, yeah. Smacks. Wow, okay, that's a really throwback. It used to be called Sugar Smacks back in the day, okay? But Honey Smacks, it's just not good, man. If you love it, more power to you, but I would rather eat a bowl of grape nuts before I eat a bowl of it.
That's so amazing. Okay. And then I think with our last 2 minutes, I wanted to take this time just to acknowledge you and your influence on me. I talked about this earlier, but I legitimately wouldn't even have this Lucky Charms jacket if it weren't for you, because I remember you mentioned me or messaged me really early on and were like, hey, I started this account. I was really kind of inspired by what you're doing. And I was like, wow, that's so great, right? And I saw that and I was really appreciative of it, just that you reached out. And then before long, your following grew so much when mine just wasn't, right? And not even because, it's just because you were really good at being consistent and just showing up to the job. And me, for the longest time, actually doing this was, I had waning energy and interest for it, right? But seeing you through this over and over, I was like, you know what? I'm like, every day, no matter what Shawn does, he wakes up and he like does this, right? And it inspired me a lot. And especially when you got this, I was like, okay, I committed to myself just about a year ago, and I was like, I got to do it because he does it. I'm going to do it. And lo and behold, here I am, and things are really, really good. So thank you for that.
Yeah, you're exploding, man. You're getting some awesome followers pretty quickly. So I love it.
Well, thank you. We have 10 seconds left. Is there anything else you want to tell everybody before you go?
Yeah, I want to thank you. Like I said, you were the inspiration. And
4, 3, 2. It's going to cut us off.